Hate basically argues that if you want to avoid the toxicity and trouble of technology, then practice your faith. That's what he says. In the chapter in mind, he lists 6 spiritual practices that we ought to insert into our daily lives, and if we do this, we will steer clear of the ruin that technology would bring. Now, why is this an interesting chapter to read? Because Jonathan Haidt, if you didn't know it, is a self-professed atheist. He doesn't believe in God. But never in my life have I read an atheist who speaks more powerfully of the power of faith to increase the well-being and happiness of our lives. I've never done this in a sermon, but I'm going to use an atheist to now give us the roadmap for the rest of the sermon. And you just see if these things he's observed are not a description of what God has given us. Here's the first one. First of the spiritual practices that he sees in healthy faith communities that he thinks we should practice. Shared sacredness. One benefit that you and I receive by being a part of a faith community is the recognition and awareness of the holy. In Hebrew, Jonathan Haidt says this, in the Hebrew, the word holy means, anybody know? It means set apart. That's at the heart of the word. For Christians, what sets something apart as holy is for us the recognition of the presence of God. We walk into church, we open up our Bibles, or we get on our knees to pray, and if we do that in the right spirit, these sacred activities lift us up from the dreariness and the weariness of life. It reminds us, doing these sacred activities, it reminds us that there's so much more to us than we can see around us. And that reminder of the sacred helps us rise above our circumstances and inspires us to live better than we would if everything were just ordinary and common and profane. Do we not experience that when you come into church? Do you not leave a little bit different than when you walked in? Because we have been in the presence of the holy. And it's lifted up our gaze. And it's inspired our heart. Just a little bit. What does this have to do with the lure of technology? Well, here's Haidt's take on it. Strong communities don't just magically appear when people congregate and communicate. The strongest and most satisfying communities come into being when something lifts people out of the common profane level so that they have powerful collective experiences. They all enter the realm of the sacred together at the same time. They have greater trust and affection for each other as a result of their time together in the sacred realm. They are also happier, lower rates of suicide. In contrast, transient networks of disembodied users interacting asynchronously just can't cohere the way human communities have from time immemorial. People who live only in networks rather than in communities are less likely to thrive. Here's an atheist describing in the most beautiful way what ought to happen when we gather in here as a church family or gather in our living rooms, in our life groups. We are in the presence of God. We are in the presence of the sacred. We share in something that is holy and uplifting, something that technology cannot provide. That's his point.